The thoughts, opinions, and general overall shade thrown on High at 9 News are those of the individual speakers and not those of High at 9 News, its audience, or its advertisers. The statements made do not constitute medical, legal, or financial advice, and for advice tailored to your specific situation, please consult with a licensed professional. Welcome to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebrities and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and entheogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your host, Jason Beck, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country, and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific time and high noon on the East Coast. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us. Yes, good morning, everybody. That's right. It is Friday, June 27th. And today is National Sunglasses Day today, you guys. Shout out to eyewear. You guys have nothing to say for sunglasses, really? Just Dr. Mark just looking at this, saying, all right, fair enough.
I mean, you know, my future is so bright, I should have on my shades.
Yeah, yeah.
Transit. Turn dark in the sun.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's also National Onion Day. Do you think that's for
onions?
Do you think that's for the newspaper?
It's for the
Could be.
healthy, it's for the healthy root.
It's for the healthy root. Oh, that's good. That's good, Jesse. That's good. It's also oh, what's that? Go ahead.
I was gonna say, little known fact about me: I love eating raw onions like an apple.
Man, onions are pretty good, bro. I actually like onions myself. I don't know about raw, but I do like onions.
I'll eat it straight like an apple.
But you know, at the same time, like there's certain foods that when there is raw onions in there, I think that's one of like the best parts of it. So maybe I would like them straight raw. I don't know. I've never tried it.
It's intense.
Do you have an onion in the kitchen right now, Jason?
I do have some onions. I have red onions in the kitchen.
You should try it on cam.
Maybe I will.
Yeah, after the first commercial, go run in there and grab an onion real quick. I just want to see something.
Oh yeah, let's watch it on camera.
I bet.
Also,
yeah.
my favorite phrase is "give her the onions," meaning if you don't know, if you're not familiar, it means send it, give it your all.
Send her
Put all
onions.
the flavor in.
All the flavor. All of the flavor, you guys. Well, it's also National Ice Cream Cake Day today.
We always have the good desserts.
Yes.
Whoever does these is like really good at adding a good dessert every single day.
And it's also National PTSD Awareness Day.
Very cannabis related.
Mm-hmm. National Orange Blossom Day.
Orange, that's a great smell.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And last but not least, it is also National HIV Testing Day.
Not going to touch that one.
And well, make sure you get tested if you're, you know what I'm saying. And thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us. It's also high noon on the East Coast. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe to us on all social media platforms. You can look up above and down below to see exactly where we live on the internet. And we are live every Monday through Friday on YouTube, Rumble, Twitch, X, Instagram, Facebook, Kick, as well as on our very own website at www.highat9news.com. So welcome to everyone joining us from any one of those platforms. And we are kicking it off with Miss Jenny Beth Dills. She's the founder of Kind Cannabis and constantly showing people how to be kind and better than themselves. That's right. It is none other than America's sweetheart, Miss Jenny Beth Dills.
Okay. All right. I did ask for a new intro.
You did. You did.
It's nice to be able to drink my Diet Coke on camera without getting yelled at now.
Who yelled at you for that?
We're not even trying. I don't understand why you even do this, Jenny Beth. Why you even go there with this shit?
I'm just happy to
it's
drink
so
my
petty.
Diet Coke on camera.
So petty.
Well, I'm drinking my Diet Coke.
Okay, so just drink your Diet Coke.
I'm going to. All right. A new peer-reviewed study and measurement of food reveals a breakthrough in cannabis processing. Thai cannabis researchers have unlocked a method to maximize antioxidants and CBD from cannabis leaves using just water and a microwave-assisted extraction, or MAE. By fine-tuning the process, a 1 to 28.5 leaf-to-water ratio, heating to 150 degrees Celsius for 23 minutes, the team achieved impressive results. About 19 milligrams of phenolics and 9 milligrams of flavonoids per gram of dry leaf, alongside antioxidant activity equivalent to roughly 42 to 44 milligrams of Trolox per gram. They also measured about 44 milligrams of CBD per gram of dry leaf. Even more intriguing, their analysis showed a very strong link between antioxidant potential and CBD content, with a correlation coefficient to 0.914, underscoring CBD's key role in cannabis antioxidant effects. Bottom line, what was once agricultural waste may now be a goldmine of natural antioxidants and CBD thanks to the eco-friendly, water-based microwave method. It's a promising leap for nutraceuticals, skincare, and functional foods. Dr. Mark, what do you think?
Well, okay, so cannabinoids are not water soluble, even if you microwave them. So this is obviously a hashing type process where water doesn't act as a solvent, but it acts as a coagulation medium, right? So kind of like making water hash, right? So the trichomes aren't going to be soluble in water, right? And maybe the microwave energy heats the trichomes up enough to make them brittle. And then in a continuous phase of water, like when you're making water hash, you're going to coagulate, right? When they coagulate, you can now remove them in a sieved process. Just again, you're hashing it. It's just a water hash type extraction, right? Which isn't really an extraction because you're not extracting the cannabinoids into the solvent, but the solvent, in this case water, is just acting as a coagulation medium. So yeah, I know companies that are doing this, and they can make a pretty clean CBDA product from it. So you could actually see, white powder crystalline CBDA that's isolated from a process like this. So I know that this kind of thing exists, but it's not really an extraction, right? It's kind of like a hashing, if you will.
A hashing. Right? I like what you did there, right? Dr. Mark. I mean,
but it makes sense, right?
Either way, just the fact that they're involving a microwave with this, I think is pretty interesting.
Yeah, I think what the microwave is doing is it's just heating up the oil itself. Mm-hmm. But again, the cannabinoids and the phytocannabinoid contents of the trichome are just not water soluble. Mm-hmm. So you ever try cleaning your bong out with water, right? Doesn't work too well, right?
I mean, you can rinse it out, but you're not going to get that residue out.
No. So in ice water hash, the ice serves to lower the temperature of the water. What the ice cubes also do is it acts as a surface to kind of, as you're hashing, as you're making the hash, the ice cubes themselves kind of scrape the leaves and basically knock all the trichomes off, where again, in the continuous phase of water, trichomes aren't just going to solubilize, so they coagulate.
Yeah.
So it's a hashing process.
It's a hashing process. I think this is pretty interesting. Just, I mean, just the whole microwave thing is the part that kills me. Now all of a sudden, I bet all the fun boy hash guys are gonna be like, oh, bro, we gotta go get a microwave, bro, in the lab.
Yeah, well, the microwave sends the temperature in the opposite direction, right? You're gonna be heating stuff up now, right?
Yeah.
As opposed to with ice water, the whole point is that When you chill that solution, it embrittles the trichome heads, right? So the trichome heads, if you look at it, there's kind of like a head. It's like this apple that's sitting on this tube here, right? So you basically want to break off the trichome heads, right? Off of the stalks. So yeah, usually you do that by chilling it. Microwave probably just heats it up a little bit more. Maybe there's a less selective extraction of heads.
Yeah.
But I imagine it still makes a pretty clean extract.
Interesting.
I'm going to have to jump in here as a hash maker.
Please.
I've made a lot of ice water hash in my lifetime and was fortunate enough to make really good friends with Frenchie and study directly under him and make hash with him and learn all of his stuff. And by the way, if you go to FrenchieCannoli.com, you can read all of his articles. They're all on there. All of the research and the writing that he ever did is published there. And if you're a hash fan, I highly recommend you do that. That's a side note. This doesn't make sense to me, Dr. Mark, and I'm looking for clarification because I understand very well that the trichome head, if you kind of zoom in, it looks like a big fruit and it's on a stalk.
Looks like a mushroom tip.
And there's an abscission point, meaning there's a point where the fruit kind of curves in and the stalk goes in, and right at that point there's a stress point, and that when we're applying ice water and getting that trichome and the stalk really cold, that stress point of that abscission point actually is where a fracture can happen, and you're using the ice and the water to agitate and the cold that's making it brittle to actually shock that head off of the stalk. So that's technically what's happening, right?
Right.
How is heating up? Like, is it so rapid? I guess I'm trying to because I'm looking at this flow chart that they have here, and it says they're taking dried C. sativa leaves, C. sativa L, I love that, and then grinding it, which that already doesn't make sense to me why you would do that. Then they're sieving it or sieving it, so they're dry sifting before. There's something in this process that I don't really understand what they think they're doing or what they're doing, or I don't understand it. And then they're putting the sieved material in an aluminum foil bag at approximately negative 18 degrees centigrade, which is really cold, right? That's like freeze dry cold. And then it says they're doing microwave assisted water extraction after that. And so is it that they're flash heating this and that's exploding the head or something like that after the head's already sieved off? Is that what they're trying?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I think you bring up some good points. I mean, I don't know if the microwave is somehow just loosening up the trichome or something, or
it says they've already sieved it. They've already
sieved it, right.
And they're using a 0.177 millimeter, which is like the size of an 80 mesh. That's the size of a pretty large head, but not the largest. So it's kind of a medium size. So I assume they're using that size to get out the plant material, like the actual leaf chunks for after they grind it. This process, I wish I could understand this process more because it's a little backwards from what I would normally think of. And then this microwave assisted water extraction is really curious to me. I want to know more. That's what I'm saying. This opens like 1,000 questions for me. What are you doing? How are you doing this? How is the microwave going through the water? Like, is this solution have all the water and all the trichome heads in there, and then you're running the microwave through it, and then it says they're microwaving it at somewhere between 90 and 150 Celsius. That's between 200 and 300 degrees Fahrenheit, which is pretty high temperature.
It's hot.
Yeah, so that it would seem to me if when they're saying that they're keeping more antioxidants and more fresh material in there by doing this, it's got to be flash. It's like really fast. Because you
Yeah,
can't.
I don't know. I'm looking.
Decarboxylate and evaporate a ton of stuff.
Yeah, I'm looking at the flow chart now, and I think this is just all bullshit.
It's all bullshit. Dr. Mark calls it bullshit.
Either this chart is drawn by someone who didn't understand the process they actually did, or there's something in here that we don't know and understand.
Well, and again, why are they chilling it if they're just heating it up again? Right? The chilling doesn't do anything, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's why I'm saying, like, if it was negative 18 degrees Celsius and then they take it to 90 degrees Celsius, like in 2 seconds with microwaves, that kind of makes sense. Because wouldn't the heads would shrink, right? Because heat shrinks things.
Mm-hmm.
So it would like do some kind of rapid shifting where maybe the heads would shrivel and shatter, or something's going on. I don't know.
I don't get this. I don't get this at all. I really don't.
Any comments on this process, Jenny Beth? You made some hash in your day.
Mm-hmm.
You ever made ice water hash in a microwave?
Mm-mm.
Sounds like Jenny's calling bullshit too on this.
The only thing I know people have used microwaves for is to pass microbials. But hey.
I mean, I used to use it to kill seeds. But, you know.
I mean, they're saying that total phenolic content and total flavonoid content and CBD content is higher when they use this process.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't make sense to me, because if you use heat, when you apply heat, you're going to lose flavonoids and lose phenols. And
well, you're going to lose terpenes, which is going to make the concentration of everything else go up.
Flavonoids too, right?
No, and flavonoids are not lost on heating, no.
Not at all? But phenols would be.
Not appreciably. I mean, those are higher boiling than the yeah. I don't think you're going to get a lot of loss there.
Or what about CBD conversion? When does that happen?
You mean
Above
the
220,
conversion
like
of
THC?
Conversion of CBD into THC?
Or just does heat converts CBD, right?
Yeah, it can. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, is it because they're eliminating everything else? Like this rapid heating is eliminating other stuff, and it's leaving the phenols and flavonoids?
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, and so what they're measuring is just you've already boiled away some of the lower boiling stuff. So yeah, the other components are going to rise in concentration. Yep.
Okay.
This is
now it's starting to make more sense.
Oh, so it's not so much bullshit now, Jesse, huh?
No, it is bullshit, because why the fuck are they doing it, right? And again, I guess I'm just looking at the thing is that this is a company that sells microwave extractors, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Doesn't this company sell the Ethos extractor or whatever?
I believe so.
Yeah. So again, you're basically saying, hey, use our device, which probably costs a premium.
Yep.
Basically make something that's got higher THC content. The reason why it's got higher THC content is you boiled away some of your lower boiler stuff. So yeah, I don't know that this is worth the paper it's written on.
Fair enough. And on that, we are going to roll into our first commercial, and we are going to be right back.
Oh man, your knees still bothering you, man?
Yeah, my left one, you know? But I'll tell you what, I've been using this new CBD cream, and it works like a miracle.
CBDs? I done heard about them CBDs. I was out there on them Twitters the other day, and I heard they get you high as a kite.
Well, not this stuff. This stuff is tested. every batch all the way through pharmaceutical grade and in a GMP certified facility, so you know you're not going to have to worry about flying high.
GMP certified? I might have to try some of this out. Where I'm even find this?
You go directly to aimhighhemp.com and they will ship it to your door right away. Test it. It's not a name, it's a promise.
Oh, yes, and we are back, you guys.
Coming up next, the onion eating, pain in my ass, Jason Beck.
Onion eating. You know what's funny, Jenny Beth, is my aunt texting me. She's like, your grandma, she used to eat red onion sandwiches back in the day.
Oh yeah. Let's go.
In the chat, if you could let me know if you hear the applause, just let me know. It would be very much appreciated. I think that you guys are hearing it, but no, they're saying no. They're saying that they don't hear it, but I hear it just like I normally would. So, Mind Body Low says very low.
Quiet.
Did you guys hear that?
So I think what's happening is in OBS, a little technical behind the scenes in OBS, it's turned down somehow.
Interesting. It's
We
very
can
low.
figure that out.
Okay. All right. Sweet. Well, we're working on it, guys. We're working to try to make all this stuff better and work more productively for you guys. But nonetheless, you know who else has been working? Mike Tyson, Kevin Durant, and other sports stars urged Trump to enact cannabis reform in a White House letter, you guys. That's right. A group calls for clemency for nonviolent marijuana offenders and rescheduling of cannabis after Biden's betrayal, they say. A coalition of sports stars and entertainers have sent a letter to the White House urging President Donald Trump to enact cannabis reform. The group is headlined by boxing legend Mike Tyson, NBA star Kevin Durant, and former NBA star Allen Iverson, former boxer Roy Jones Jr., and former Dallas Cowboys star Des Bryant, former NFL star Antonio Brown. His X feed is hilarious if you have never checked it out.
It's out of control.
It's the best. And former NFL player and prominent cannabis activist Ricky Williams. Williams' name appears twice on the list of signees, and the letter highlights three main points in their proposed reform: clemency for nonviolent marijuana offenses, support for marijuana rescheduling, and ending discriminatory banking practices. The letter highlights three main points in their proposed reform: clemency for nonviolent marijuana offenses, support for marijuana rescheduling, and ending discriminatory banking practices. The first point in the letter points out Trump's previous pardon of music producer Weldon Angelos. That's Weldon. That's our guy. Shout out to Weldon, who was sentenced to 55 years in prison in November of 2004 for marijuana charges. Angelos was released in 2016 and then pardoned by President Trump in December of 2020. The letter also criticized former President Joe Biden for a lack of action on addressing marijuana-related incarcerations. In a quote, "Today, people continue to serve lengthy federal sentences for conduct that is now legal in most states, which makes their continued incarceration not only cruel but absurd. After making sweeping promises to voters in 2020, former President Biden failed to deliver on his pledge to address marijuana-related injustices. Not only did he leave office without commuting the sentences of those incarcerated for marijuana, but in one of his final acts, he denied nearly every pending marijuana-related clemency application," the letter states. In an additional quote, "This betrayal only underscores the urgent need for bold leadership, and we believe and represents an opportunity to correct glaring disparities as part of your administration's ongoing push for criminal justice reform." The second point in the letter urges Trump to reclassify the drug from a Schedule 1 to a Schedule 3. I don't know why these guys are doing that. That's kind of pointless, but whatever. The difference in the respective schedules, which are determined by the Drug Enforcement Agency, the DEA, determines how drugs are viewed in terms of their potential for abuse versus medical application. And Schedule 1 substances have a high potential for abuse and have no accepted medical use in the United States. And they also have a high potential for severe psychological and or physical dependence, they say. Schedule 3 substances have a moderate to low potential for physical and psychological dependence compared to Schedule 1 and 2 drugs, and they have accepted medical use in the United States. In a quote, marijuana's current classification as a Schedule 1 substance is scientifically outdated, economically detrimental, and at odds with modern medical understanding, the letter states. Rescheduling marijuana would harmonize federal law with state policies, promote innovation, encourage research, and drive economic growth. I disagree with the last sentence, but okay. The final point in the letter, arguing against discriminatory banking practices, points out that Trump has been opposed to a previous U.S. initiative called Operation Choke Point, which investigated banks and the businesses they did with firearms dealers, payday lenders, and other companies that, while operating legally, were said to be high risk for fraud and money laundering. The group argued marijuana businesses have also been affected by that initiative and other banking practices, and in a quote, moreover, cannabis businesses cannot take a standard business deductions leading to effective tax rates often exceeding 85%. While foreign cannabis companies benefit from listings on U.S. exchanges such as the New York Stock Exchange and NASDAQ, American cannabis operators are unjustly excluded. We fully support your commitment to work with Congress to pass common sense laws, including safe banking, ensuring fair economic opportunities, and equal access to financial services for all American businesses. The other figures listed on the letter to the White House include former NBA players Steven Jackson, Chris Webber, J.R. Smith, John Sally, Al Harrington, former NFL players Jim McMahon, Kyle Turley, Champ Bailey, Marvin Washington, and Tony Richardson, and former boxers Boyd Melson, Paul Willius, and Keith Thurman. The other figures listed on the letter in the White House include, why did it double back like that? That's so weird. The entertainment figures on the letter are streamer Aiden Ross, rappers Lil Pump and Rollo, and musician Wyclef, you guys. I'm not sure why they had Wyclef on there. I didn't know. I didn't think Wyclef was a U.S. citizen, but nonetheless, that's not for here nor there. And I'm really glad to see all of these people in support of getting these people out of jail. Rescheduling is kind of pointless, but nonetheless, I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this.
I have so much mixed feelings about this.
Right?
On one hand, I appreciate Mike and this crew's efforts.
Mm-hmm.
I also have mixed feelings about using celebrity as a platform for. Are they just doing this for attention because it's not really gonna do anything?
Mm-hmm.
So they're just kind of trying to get attention. That's kind of my concern. And so that's part of it. And then the other thing that I think is that this is Trump and the Republicans' chance to take a hold of this, do something very fast, and win a lot of people's hearts and minds.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that they haven't already done so when it would be so easy is disconcerting.
Mm-hmm.
As was said, I mean, Biden had made tons of promises, didn't show up on any of them. And now, Trump hasn't really, he's made allusions to a promise that he's going to do something. He's hinted at it. He supported the Florida bills, and so he's kind of danced around maybe doing something. And then we have RFK, who's definitely been a cannabis supporter for 20 years, as we've noted, for a very long time. And he's been very open and very vocal and is very in support of plant medicine and plant science.
Mm-hmm.
And yet all of a sudden, he's pretty silent.
Yep.
So that also is disconcerting to me. So maybe these celebrities, by being open, can push the needle a little bit, but I kind of doubt it. I feel like this maybe is just a little bit of attention grabbing from these guys.
Any thoughts, Dr. Mark?
Yeah, I kind of agree with Jesse. I think this is just, trying to get headlines. And yeah, I think we had a lot of big hopes, given RFK's kind of, position on herbal supplements and, his feeling about the FDA being a revolving door between big pharmaceuticals and the government branch that regulates them. So I think he wanted to try to break that up. So yeah, I mean, cannabis is the kind of like the perfect solution, and certainly he would win a lot of good faith from people who are in the cannabis and hemp industries by saying that, okay, you're going to actually follow through on what you said in his campaign. I think during the campaign he did speak on states' rights, but also talked about deschedule or rescheduling. I don't think he ever brought up descheduling at all, right? Did he? I think it was just always this notion about rescheduling.
No,
but again,
RFK said we need to deschedule. He has said that.
Oh, he has said that. Okay, yeah, because rescheduling is just we all know that that's just a boondoggle. That ain't never going to happen. And the DEA has been doing nothing but foot dragging all along here. They had those hearings last year, right, Jason, where they were supposed to get some input. I think they just did that to save face. I don't know that they've taken any of that input forward to make any policies. But really, the DEA isn't in charge of the policies. The lawmakers are, right? Congress is, right?
Well,
the DEA is just part of the executive branch that's supposed to carry out laws that are passed by the legislative branch. So I think this, again, just points to the fact that our whole government process is broken.
Dr. Mark, I covered a story earlier this week that kind of outlined who really has the power. And yes, you are right. Congress does have the ultimate power, but the Attorney General does have the power to reschedule or deschedule cannabis. The only downside of that is anyone that comes into that seat afterwards does have the power to reverse that.
Right.
So
to reverse it,
to reverse it, but nonetheless, I mean, set a precedence. You know what I mean, Pam Bondi, you can do this, and that's why I was so hopeful that Matt Gaetz was going to be our Attorney General, because I know that I've got him on descheduling. He was definitely going to do that.
Yeah, and her record in terms of cannabis, right, Pam Bondi back in Florida wasn't, she wasn't a big supporter, was she?
No, she's not she's not the biggest supporter in that sense, but at the same time, I'm open to helping her evolve on the issue. I have no problem.
Come on,
with that.
That's being super generous. She's really anti. She's expressed
she's
anti-cannabis. Yeah, she's been very
she's literally that mom who's like, "Don't do it, it's bad."
Yeah, she's like, it'll cause you're gonna get cud. You're gonna have
you're gonna shoot your eye out.
Yeah, and then you're gonna die in the streets in a
oh boy,
dude.
Yeah, I mean, this is just all part of the same fucking game, right? I mean, some people are pro, some people are against. They could never get a unified platform going forward. This is where Pam Bondi maybe needs to put her own personal feelings aside and do what's best for the party and what's best for the country, which is to push cannabis reform forward. I mean, the whole Kim Rivers thing that kind of came unwound in Florida was just a fucking shit show. And part of that was they didn't really have the votes to get that thing passed, And again, more recently in Texas, it's like, what does what does doing things on a federal level do for these state programs like in Florida and Texas? They got to come up with a unified front going forward, and that's both parties have been basically failed at that, right?
Well, and I think on that note, Mark, the real problem is on both sides is that America has been making these decisions to go with big business. And we've valued corporations and the whole stockholder, and corporations work for the stockholder, and we've got to just increase value, which big pharma is like one of the best players at, right? So we have this industry that just is a really good player at appeasing the stockholder and creating this big business, and cannabis just can't compete in that world. And what we need is a cultural shift where we all understand that actually the better economy is having the healthiest population that's the best educated, that's the most well-equipped that has the best medicines for themselves so they can be the healthiest and be the most productive members of society, right? If you imagine there's kind of this utopian view of like, if everybody was really healthy and everybody was super educated, what would happen to our economy? Clearly, it would go way up, as opposed to aggregating all of the resources and the money to a very small, less than 1% or a 0.1% of the population who kind of floats on everyone's backs. And right now, our politics is geared to receive the lobbying money and take all that money from that 0.1% rather than caring about this bigger population.
Yeah.
Like I'm talking about. And it would be great if both parties would wake up to that fact and realize you're destroying the bigger part of the economy in order to aggregate to this 0.1% that you're sort of being vampiric with. And that if you turned it around, you'd actually make more money in the long run.
Jenny Beth, any thoughts, final thoughts on this?
Nope.
All right, we're going to roll right into Dr. Mark Scialdone. He's out at the great Champlain region of Vermont, out in the Green Mountains, enjoying the summer weather, where it's got full of pine trees, full of pine cones, and full of terpenes everywhere you stare. That's right, it is none other than Dr. Mark Scialdone.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Jason. Happy Friday, everyone. Hope you're having a good day. Sorry I missed y'all last week. I was in sunny Puerto Rico at CanMed, which was a wonderful conference, looking at, educating doctors and clinicians on the miracle that we know as cannabis. So it was a great conference, great getaway. It's great to be back. Okay, so my title of my article today comes from the Marijuana Moment. It's entitled FDA Plan to Include Hemp-Derived Cannabinoids in Federal Adverse Health Event Reporting System goes to the White House for approval. Okay, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, the FDA, is moving forward with a proposal that aims to better track health impacts of hemp-derived cannabinoid products by adding CBD and other hemp-derived cannabinoids as selectable options on federal documents used by healthcare professionals, patients, and consumers to report adverse events. Initially unveiled in January, the proposal would revive the product type field of FDA reporting documents, including the Section 4 cannabinoid hemp products, such as products containing CBD. An initial round of comments was open until mid-March. In a published post in the Federal Register this week, the FDA announced that the proposed collection of information has now been submitted to the White House Office of Management and Budget, OMB, for review and clearance. The new filing says that the 2 comments were received in the initial round of public feedback supporting the addition of the cannabinoid hemp product category, but encouraged the FDA to include additional categories as well that will allow for specific data as it pertained to a wider variety of individual products. A third calls for changes to make entries easier by respondents. The FDA appreciates each comment, and although we continue to modify applicable forms to increase the utility of the information collected as our limited resources allow, the agency said, we are proposing no other modifications at this time. An additional round of feedback is now being accepted on the submission information with comments due by July the 25th. The move, designed to more actively gather information about adverse health effects that might be linked to hemp-derived products, comes amid a number of other CBD-focused actions at the federal and state levels. Earlier this week, for example, a powerful House committee approved a spending bill containing provisions that hemp stakeholders would say would devastate the industry, prohibiting most consumable cannabinoid products that were federally legalized during the first Trump administration. The House Appropriations Committee passed the agricultural appropriations legislation in a 35 to 27 vote. Ooh, it was pretty close. On Monday. It now heads to the Rules Committee to be prepared for floor consideration. While the panel adopted the manager's amendment to the report attached to the bill earlier this month that provided clarifying language stating that members did not intend to prohibit non-intoxicating cannabinoid products with a trace or insignificant amount of THC, the underlying bill went unchanged despite the industry's concern about the proposal. The large-scale measure covers a wide range of issues, but for hemp advocates and stakeholders, there's one section of particular concern that would redefine the crop under the federal statute in a way that would prohibit cannabis products from containing any quantifiable amount of THC or other cannabinoids that have similar effects or marketed to have similar effects in humans or animals, such as THC. The Congressional Research Service, CRS, released a report last week stating that the legislation would effectively prohibit hemp-derived cannabinoid products. Initially, it said such a ban would prevent the sale of CBD as well, but the CRS report was updated to exclude that language for reasons that are unclear. The Appropriations Committee press release on Monday said that the bill supports the Trump administration's mandate of the American people by closing the hemp loophole. Yeah, I didn't know that was a mandate, but I guess it is. Closing the hemp loophole that resulted in the proliferation of unregulated intoxicating products, including Delta-8 hemp flower, being sold online and in gas stations across the country. The hemp language is largely consistent with appropriations and agricultural legislation that was introduced last year, but ultimately not enacted under the last Congress. Hemp industry shareholders rallied against that proposal of an earlier version, which also included in the base bill from the subcommittee last year. It's virtually identical to the provision of the 2024 Farm Bill that was attached by a separate committee last May in an amendment from Rep. Mary Miller, a Republican from Illinois, which was not enacted into law. There are several differences between prior spending bill and the latest version of the 2026, including a redefining of what constitutes a quantifiable amount of THC that would be prohibited in hemp products. It now says that a quantifiable amount is based on a substance, form, manufacturer, or article as determined by the Secretary of Human Health and Human Services, right, that's RFK, in consultation with the Secretary of Agriculture, whereas it was previously defined as simply any amount determined by the Secretary with consultation from the Secretary of Health and Human Services and the Secretary of Agriculture. The proposed legislation also now defines that the term hemp does not include quote, a drug that is a subject of an application approved under subsection C or J in Section 505 of the Federal Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Acts, 21 U.S.C. 355, which seems to carve out an exception for the Food and Drug Administration for FDA-approved drugs such as Epidiolex, which is synthesized from CBD. So they needed to do this for a while now. It's a good thing that they're addressing this. A leading alcohol industry association, meanwhile, has called on Congress to dial back the language in the House spending bill that would ban most consumable hemp products, instead proposing to maintain the legalization of naturally derived hemp cannabinoids from crop and only from the crop, and only prohibit synthetic items. So this is where things that are actually extracted from hemp would be legal, but things that were synthesized from hemp, like hemp-derived D9 and D8, would basically be banned. So this would keep CBD and CBG and other non-intoxicating cannabinoids available for those patients who use those. So keep GOP congressional lawmakers, including one member who supports marijuana legalization, don't seem especially concerned about the provisions in the bill, despite concern from the shareholders that it would put much of the hemp industry in jeopardy by banning most consumable products derived from the plant. Jonathan Miller, general counsel at the U.S. Hemp Roundtable, told congressional lawmakers back in April that the market is begging for federal regulations around cannabis products. At the hearing, Representative James Comer, Republican from Kentucky, also inquired about FDA inaction around regulations, sarcastically asking if it would require a gazillion bureaucrats, that's a lot, that work from home to regulate cannabinoids such as CBD. A report from Bloomberg Intelligence last year called cannabis a significant threat to the alcohol industry, citing a survey data that suggests that more people are using cannabis as a substitute for alcoholic beverages such as beer and wine. Last November, meanwhile, a beer industry trade group put out a statement guiding principles to address what it called the proliferation of largely unregulated intoxicating hemp and cannabis products, warning of risks to consumers and communities resulting in THC consumption. Separately, at FDA, the head of the federal agency recently called for an exploring of the top therapeutic potentials of psychedelics such as psilocybin and ibogaine as a top priority for the Trump administration, especially when it comes to helping military veterans grapple with the trauma from being sent to fight unnecessary wars. And in Texas, we all know what happened in Texas, right? You know, when you own hell and you own Texas, you live in hell and you rent Texas out. Isn't that right? Okay, and in Texas, Governor Greg Abbott earlier this month signed into bill a law that create a state-backed research consortium to conduct clinical trials on ibogaine as a possible treatment for substance use disorders and other mental conditions, with the ultimate goal of developing the psychedelic into a prescription drug with FDA approval, with the state retaining portion of the profit. As for hemp-derived cannabinoids in Texas, Abbott recently vetoed a controversial bill that would have banned consumable hemp products with any traces of THC, which advocates and stakeholders said would have devastated the growing industry in the state. Well, you know, this is just more of the same old thing. We've heard it time and time again. That and one of the points I wanted to bring up earlier when we were talking about inaction by the government, Jason, when you were talking about Pam Bondi and Getz and all those other folks, is that you got to remember that 4 out of 5 lobbyists in Washington, D.C. are on the payroll for big pharma, big alcohol, and big tobacco, right? And those 3 industries and all of the lobbyists that they support want to keep things just the way they are, right? They don't want to upset the apple cart. It's really interesting, though, that the beer and wine in the industries are kind of split on this. I think beer and wine feels as though intoxicating hemp products are taking some market share with them, but you know that there's a lot of beer and wine players that are getting into this hemp-derived beverage market, which seems to be really taking off in certain states like Minnesota. So I think there's a little bit of yin and yang there, a little bit of infighting, but at least they've put out the Mary Miller amendment has gone out to pasture. It seems as though at least they're trying to make this part of a priority of what the Trump administration is kind of pushing for. I don't really see this as action items for people like RFK. It says right here in the article that RFK could basically make an exception for these hemp-derived cannabinoids from the FD&C Act. Well, he doesn't seem to be moving too fast on that, but maybe, again, that's just a card that he's going to play later in the game. But it'll be interesting to see what happens. I mean, there's a lot of discussion at the federal level now to do something not only about the hemp-derived thing, but it's really interesting to see them taking the lid off of psychedelics, because certainly we've all known this for years that psychedelics is valuable medicine and could certainly be utilized in cases of PTSD and depression and other things where they're prescribing FDA-approved drugs. These things like ibogaine and ketamine aren't maybe FDA approved, but maybe this is probably something that, you know, needs to have more research done on it to make sure that, you know, we're not missing out on these opportunities. But I think this is more of the same, Jason. It doesn't look like there's anything really new. I think, you know, Abbott vetoing that keeps the hemp-derived game happening in Texas. Texas is a bellwether state, so maybe with the way Texas goes, the rest of the union will go. Again, interesting that Texas did that in the shadow of Gavin Newsom's bill, which completely shut things down in California. But I think what we know in California, Jason, is nothing really got shut down.
Nothing got shut down. No, exactly.
No, it just basically now diverts that revenue stream from, you know, legal tax-paying businesses to the trap, right?
Yep. Yeah, hit the transition, guys.
I don't know that there's anything really new here. I mean, it's a long article and talked a lot about moving things forward, but seems like it's still more of the same song and dance. The DEA is going to drag their feet. They don't want things to change. For the most part, again, those industries that we talked about, right? And let's add for-profit prisons to that. Oh, and let's also add the drug testing industry. I mean, think about it. All those soldiers and those policemen who get drug tested, that all costs a lot of money too. So,
you know who else you have to add in there? A majority of cannabis lobbyists, because if cannabis is legalized or descheduled, then they're basically out of a job because they don't have anything to lobby for anymore.
Right. They have nothing more to lobby, right? Yeah, so there's probably
they know that.
a lot of financial powers that want things to stay just the way it is because they're making money hand over fist.
Oh, 6 years we'll see change. 5-6 years, you keep punting it down every 5 years. Oh, you just keep saying that.
Can I please have $40,000 more dollars?
Yeah,
I need to go to DC for the weekend.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Gotta be at the Capitol. I gotta be at the club. You know, that's where business gets done. You guys, come on. So here's the thing. We keep talking about hemp-derived, synthesized cannabinoids, right? And that is annoying to me because we're sitting here in one breath and we're advocating for natural plant medicine, right? We're saying we want natural plant medicine. And I don't know how many fucking times Dr. Mark has to tell y'all, and y'all try to argue with him in the comments, that D9 is not fucking natural, it's synthesized. So here's my problem with this. If you want an intoxicating cannabinoid, then you need to go ahead and advocate and push your dead level best for cannabis to be legalized in your state, your municipality, your whatever. Arguing for something that is synthesized from a natural plant, synthesized, synthetic, is not arguing or advocating for plant medicine. That's bullshit to me. And it's really frustrating. And I don't think I'm ever going to fucking get behind it. I'm sorry for all of you guys with whatever brands you have or whatever.
Haters.
Access. I'm not a hater. We're taking a plant that already does that and saying, hey, instead of like figuring out how to get this plant that already fucking does that, let's figure out how to, by some chemical process, create a similar effect from the part of the plant that doesn't already do that. I'm sorry, I can't get behind that. I won't do it. I do not. Now, the fact that CBD is still available, the fact that CBD and naturally occurring cannabinoids would still be allowed is helpful, right?
That's great.
Why are we making synthetic products out of something God already naturally made fucking pretty damn perfect?
Well, one of the reasons is because of cost. So we're in a commodity business here where cost will always matter, right? So if you can lower the cost of your inputs, you're going to make more money. You're going to get profitable quicker. So when you could take a THC molecule, and when you get a cannabis license, right, that costs money. You have to hire a team, that costs money. You have to bring in genetics, that costs money. You got to build a greenhouse, that costs money. You have to extract it. You have to grow up plants, extract it, analyze it, test it. By the time you get to that same THC molecule, the guys who are chemically converting CBD into THC, you'll have spent 10 times the amount to get to that same molecule of THC. So when that cost factor is maybe like 2 or 3, you're right, Jenny, you could definitely be like, well, okay, we're going to be all natural and we're going to put that into our marketing information. But these hemp-derived beverages, it just says HDD9. You have no idea where that most likely that molecule came from a processor that's processing hundreds of thousands of kilos a year, and they're basically just converting CBD into THC as fast as they possibly can and selling that as an input on the open market. So that's the reason is all about money. You're going to make more money.
Let's make then the argument like we're arguing for our cogs. We're not arguing for plant medicine. We're not arguing for natural fucking products. We're arguing for our cogs.
Return to shareholder is what we're arguing. Making more money, having a bigger paycheck, having a bigger boat, having a bigger house. Yeah.
That's not very weed for the people right there.
It's not very weed for the people, is it, Jason?
All of those things that the free market economy pushes us towards, right? I mean, if you're going to make more money doing that, less money doing the right thing, there's going to be a certain amount of players who are going to do exactly what you say, Jenny. They're going to do the right thing, right? So I met with, down at CanMed, met with the Chief Innovation Officer of WANA, right? We all know who WANA is, right? Yep. WANA has embraced a hemp-derived thing. However, not using any synthetic THC. All their THC is extracted THC. This is basically what the company is telling the rest of the world. So yeah, are their cogs going to be higher? Are they going to make less money at the end of the day? They might, but are they engendering new markets with people who feel good about their products because they're not using the synthetic stuff? Probably to a certain extent. I mean, it's going to be really interesting to see what happens, especially when we start to really understand the safety of hemp-derived D9 versus extracted D9. And if we could make a safety argument based on, hey, this stuff is more safe and this stuff we just don't know about, maybe that could be the ultimate driver, which is consumer safety rather than COGS.
Yeah, and a big part of the argument for me is here we are, cannabis industry, once again, doing the asshole thing and marketing and using our marketing plan of misinformation. It's not all the same fucking thing. And the fact that we're marketing it as it's the same fucking thing, your average consumer, a lot of them don't understand when they look and they're like, oh, THC. They see THC. That's what they needed to see to go buy this product. They needed to see THC. So we, as the assholes, are once again using misinformation as a marketing tool to push our products through when we know that what we're doing is absolutely ass backwards and selfish. So, right is right, wrong is wrong. If you fucking actually care and you want to produce a actual cannabis product, then produce an actual cannabis product. Is it going to cost you more? Sure fucking will. You might sleep better at the end of the day. You might, feel better not misinforming consumers, but it's so crazy and it's just frustrating to me. It just is. So, that's all. I'm off my soapbox, but I'm so sick of the synthetic cannabinoid game.
She's off her soapbox.
I'll just mention one other thing. So you got to remember, like in a cannabis-based beverage, most of what you're selling water.
Right.
It's fucking cheap. Right?
Yep.
So when you talk about the 10 milligrams of THC in the overall COGS, so the COGS, for those of you who don't know, COGS stands for cost of goods sold, right? So the most of what your cost of goods sold in a cannabis beverage is not the ingredients that goes inside the beverage. It's the can and the label.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
That's what costs you the most money, right?
It's all that packaging.
So if you could save a couple nickels on the cost of your ingredient, that's going to translate into a lower price point for the consumer, right? So when the consumer is walking into that Total Wine store in Minnesota, right, and looking at that big display of THC drinks, right, and maybe sees a seltzer for, I don't know, $12 a can, but then right next to it, there's a seltzer for $5 a can. Which one do you think is going to fly off the shelf? $5 a can stuff, right? The cheaper stuff, because when you're in there, you're not just buying one can, you're buying a case of cans, right? So do you want to spend, I don't know, $85 to buy a bunch of cannabis beverages, or do you want to spend $280? I think we all know what the answer today in the economy that we're living in, which is that it's all about price. And the consumer is going to buy that cheap stuff all day long because all it says is 10 milligrams of THC is in this beverage. Well, 10 milligrams is in the other beverage. The other beverage is spending a whole lot more on their COGS because they're getting it from extraction, where this guy's getting it from synthesis. So, yeah, I mean, this is going to work itself out in a commodity-based economy. It has to.
And remember, Jenny's not a Debbie Downer. I'm a bitch, but it's because I love you guys. I want you guys to get good products. I do this for you. I'm a bitch for you guys.
She does it for you guys.
I walk so you can run.
That is cute. Well, on that, we're going to roll into a commercial, and we are going to be right back, you guys. Hold on. And we are back. Stop whatever you're doing. Make sure you smash that like button. I know we'll appreciate it. You'll appreciate it. And YouTube will appreciate it. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed already. And all of the articles that we cover on today's show, you can read directly on our website at www.high9news.com. And everyone, please continue to share the show with all your friends. We're trying to surpass 100 live viewers on this episode. We're pretty close to that. So keep on continuing to share this episode with all of your friends. Thank you so much for your support.
I just ordered the summertime strawberry salad when added steak on top here at Anna's. Make sure you do the same thing too next time you're in downtown Long Beach. Come on down and check out Anna's joint on the 400 block of Pine Street. They have amazing selection of beers, foods, and when you come down here to Anna's, you can even challenge me to a game of shuffleboard if you want to lose. Get that? So, next time you're in downtown Long Beach on Pine Avenue, make sure you stop by Anna's Joint on the 400 block. Not only do they have Anna's Joint, this restaurant and bar, but they also have the amazing deli next door, and then next door to that they have a very exotic flower shop. You may want to stop by and say hi.
Oh, yes. Yeah, it's all love. You know it, Dr. Mark. It's all love. Jenny, do you want to introduce Jesse?
Yeah, hang on. Let's see which one I want to use. I've actually been writing Jesse's intros down because they're longer and they're fucking good.
Nice. Get it.
Yeah. Let's see here. What do I want to use here? Go back to... All right. Let's see here. Okay. Jesse Barney,
That's
husband and
paralysis
twin,
choice.
grandpa, bald ginger powerhouse, and owner of Barney Design Co. Cannabis vet, whether Nick Bradley signs off or not. Up next, Jesse Barney.
Maybe so. Maybe that's why. Maybe you may just be onto something, Jenny Beth.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, my story, thank you, Jenny Beth. I really appreciate that. And my story is out of Nebraska, the Nebraska Examiner. It's super duper long, so I'm going to try to summarize it. I was going to do some extra research and reading this morning, but I got caught up with some other really important things. And so I didn't get to do as much as I really wanted to, but I'll try to throw this out here and give it an outline so that we can talk about it, because there's some interesting things going on in Nebraska. The Nebraska Commission approves emergency medical cannabis regulations. Temporary regulations head to Governor Jim Pillen for final approval ahead of the July 1st deadline. So basically what's going on is Nebraska is one of our most recent states to enter the fray of the cannabis industry by becoming a medical state. And they had a mandate by the citizens passed an initiative, and they had a mandate that was a part of the initiative to pass some regulations by July 1st, which is clearly coming up in a few days. And the lawmakers in Nebraska have failed to create these regulations. So now the commission has created some emergency regulations that they're going to basically force the governor to pass, that will last, I think, like a couple months, until like October or something, to give them some time and establish a loose framework that kind of mirrors. So they had a set of regulations that they had written, that they were trying to pass, and it just came to a stalemate by their lawmakers. So they're kind of taking some of those and just creating an emergency set of regulations. And there's some interesting things about this set of regulations that are like qualifying and conditions and allowable products. So the regulations that they were trying to create, they outlined 15 different conditions, mostly around pain and glaucoma and things that we know. But what was interesting is that it didn't have PTSD, which is one of the big things that cannabis is good for, especially with vets and other people who have gone through really high traumatic experiences. And then there's this weird thing, and I this is where I wasn't able to do a little bit of the extra research. It says that in the law that they passed, that the citizens passed in November, so now 7 months ago, they legalized up to 5 ounces with the recommendation of a healthcare practitioner. So your doctor can approve you to have cannabis, and then you can have up to 5 ounces on you. But then what's interesting is that the regulations that they're trying to pass don't allow you to have flower. So there's like some kind of paradox and discrepancy going on. And the emergency regulations that they're trying to pass definitely don't allow you to have flower or really any kind of edible, as far as like a candy or a food. But they do allow oral tablets, capsules, or tinctures.
So you can boof it.
Yeah, so like they're making a distinction between ingestion through a tablet or a capsule versus a gummy, which I find that to be a really odd. And they also, as long as there's no sugar involved, so you can make a gelatinous cube or it's funny, they say gelatinous cuboid or lozenge, but as long as there's no sugar involved. So they're like literally restricting the combination of creating they're calling an edible something that uses sugar. It's like they're making their own kind of legal terminology and being very restrictive about that. Also, what's allowed are gels, oils, creams, and other topical preparations. And as you said, you can boof it. You can use suppositories and transdermal patches, liquids, or oils. So they're and then dispensaries cannot sell raw plant or flower food or drinks with cannabis infused into it. So these are some interesting restrictions that they have going on. And then they're having this debate where pharmacists are trying to speak up and say that these these things could have some side effects that they don't know of, and they're trying to keep everything in the pharmaceutical industry and not let dispensaries distribute any products. And then they're having these meetings and trying to get this done. So there's a lot going on in Nebraska. I really hope that they make some good headway. They have a medical marijuana commission, and there's a woman named Krista Eggers, who's the executive director of Nebraskans for Medical Marijuana. That's a great, apparently a pretty good organization, and they're trying to get some sensible things passed. And there's a bunch of meetings going on right now, so I hope that they can make some headway and make some sensible rules for the patients of Nebraska and get something passed. But I'm sure that Jenny and Jason might know a little bit more about this and what's going on, so I'll toss it over to you guys and see what you have to say. Thank you.
Well, I just wonder if while they were doing this rulemaking, this little asinine rulemaking here, they realized, and I know Dr. Mark is a fellow deadhead, and Jesse is a fish head and a deadhead, and you guys are both, I'm a panic girl, so I can't say I'm a fellow fish fan. They're fun, but
Yes,
I wonder if they knew. I can. I've been to enough dicks. I did a full dicks run 6 months pregnant, so I guess I can call myself. I can throw myself in there.
Isn't that how you got pregnant in the first place?
People in Nebraska knew when they made these regulations that it's free if you boof it.
It's free if you boof it?
Yeah, that's the lot rule. That's the lot
rules. It's free if you boof it.
Wow.
It is free if you boof it.
Wow.
Isn't it, Dr. Mark?
But you have to do it in front of everybody.
Yeah.
Oh, man, you guys.
I mean, listen, back in all jokes aside, these are absolutely asinine regulations. Like, here, the doctor says you can have flour, but oops, you can't have flour. Yes, you can have edibles, sort of, but don't put any sugar or anything in them. Hey, Humboldt goo balls. So that's where you take this split and you roll it in granola, and that sounds like a great time had by all. And you might pull out a crown or a filling or two.
They're always squishy when I have them.
Especially if you have those silver ones, and you're in Nebraska, so you fucking might. I don't know. I just feel bad for the people in Nebraska who desperately need this medicine, and the fact that they cannot seem to get anything right. They don't seem to be willing to get anything right. This is just another jurisdiction who has seen the will of the people and are trying to push against it as hard as they can. They're like, all right, we'll let you have it, but no, we won't.
But at the same time, Jenny Beth, it is some kind of form of progress, because they were saying how they might not have anything at all by the deadline done and completed, and all of a sudden they pulled a rabbit out of the hat and at least got something done.
Is that good though, Jason? Because we know when we at least
done, though. That's the thing.
Yeah,
it's not done. This is on the table right now, and they're trying to rush it through. And the governor it seems like the governor still could actually reject it.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
they all want to go home because next Friday is the 4th of July, and nobody's trying to miss their fucking vacations for sessions. We see it in the federal government. We see it in state governments. It's happening everywhere. So you guys are trying to rush it. And Jason, I don't think that it's ever been in the history of everdom a good thing for cannabis for us to just get something. Because when we just have something, we have something, and they don't feel any urgency to address it and give us something good.
I think that's a fair point, Jenny Beth. I think that is a very fair point. I was just trying to play a little bit of devil's advocate over here, and you know what I mean.
Well, I'm caffeinated.
Never advocate for the devil,
Jason.
It's fair enough, Jason.
I'm caffeinated. My hair's did. We're going.
Yeah, she's all diet coked up. Feeling herself.
She feels it flowing.
Well, Nebraska, we hope you get your shit together overall, and you know what I mean. There is some progress. I guess the Schedule 3 people would probably say, "Oh, this is great news because of the fact they at least got something done, right?" We're gonna get something done. We're gonna destroy the industry. But
I would think that they would want to go faster and do more and do better, because how much cannabis is flowing over the border from Oklahoma? If you saw
who all the people that chair this commission, Jesse, it's pretty much all prohibitionists. So this was kind of set up to fail from the beginning with the people that they appointed to take these positions. So.
That makes sense to me.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it feels like. That's what it looks like.
Well, and on that, we are going to keep this train rolling into our final commercial, and we are going to be right back.
Oh, man, your knees still bothering you, man?
Yeah, I left one, you know? But I'll tell you what, I've been using this new CBD cream, and it works like a miracle.
CBDs? I done heard about them CBDs. I was out there on them Twitters the other day, and I heard they get you high as a kite.
Well, not this stuff. This stuff is tested. Every batch, all the way through, pharmaceutical grade, and in a GMP certified facility. So you know you're not going to have to worry about flying high.
GMP certified? I might have to try some of this out. Where I'm even find this?
You go directly to aimhighhemp.com and they will ship it to your door right away. Tested. It's not a name, it's a promise.
And we are back, you guys. Well.
Coming up back, bringing up the caboose, the biggest behind at High at 9, Jason Beck.
That's pretty cute, Beth. Pretty cute.
I know. I told you I'm a great fucking host. Excellent choice.
Pretty good. Pretty good.
Pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Well, Dr. Mark, my last two stories that I have are all studies. Okay, since we got kind of like a Medical Friday kind of theme, so I think you're going to enjoy these two. So I'm really curious to see your thoughts and what you have to say on these, because CBN Cannabinol CBN may support neuronal. What's that?
Cannabinol.
Okay. Cannabinol.
CBN.
Yep, CBN may support neuronal health and reduce cell stress. New research finds that cannabinol, CBN, a lesser known compound found in marijuana, could play a protective role in treating neurodegenerative diseases by reducing cell stress and promoting neuronal survival. The study, conducted by scientists from the University of Eastern Piedmont and the University G. at Dianzo, Chieti Pescara, and published in the journal Antioxidants, explored the effects of CBN on differentiated neuroblastoma crossed with spinal cords, NSC-34 cells. Researchers exposed these cells to various concentrations of CBN over 24 hours and analyzed gene expression changes using next-generation sequencing. The study abstract notes in a quote, "Our results reveal that CBN had no negative impact on cell viability and the tested concentrations. Instead, it showed a significant effect on stress response and neuroplasticity related processes. The data showed CBN affected genes tied to cellular stress, neuronal survival, and axon guidance were key functions that often deteriorate in neurodegenerative disorders. In their conclusions, the researchers state that CBN stimulates the antioxidant response through the NRF2 pathway and reduces the sensitivity to programmed cell death, suggesting it may help cells withstand chronic stress, and they add that CBN may be able to support neuronal health under conditions of chronic stress, though they emphasize that the need for in vivo research to confirm its safety and efficacy. These findings, built on previous research highlighting CBN's antioxidant and anti-inflammatory properties, and suggest it could serve as a adjuvant therapy in the fight against neurodegenerative diseases such as Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. You guys, look at that. CBN, Dr. Mark, could be helping in that.
Yeah.
How'd I do with those
great.
words?
This is really, really good findings. I mean, CBN has got a lot of very interesting pharmaceutical activity, different than THC.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this is really super exciting. And this goes to something that, I think we've talked about before, which is that, remember how like when you were back in your college days and you'd be like to your buddies, hey, let's go kill some brain cells, right? That was kind of AKA where let's go get high. Well, now what we know is that you were probably doing just the opposite.
You were saving them.
You were actually generating new brain cells. So how's that?
Look at that, man. Look at that. That is This is great news. I like how this is going already. I like how this is going. Any thoughts on this, Jesse? You're on mute, buddy.
CBN is an incredible molecule.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Mark, I would love for you to elucidate what you know about CBN and what it can do in totality.
Yeah, well, I mean, what they're showing here is that it's a powerful antioxidant, and it also, again, through these various pathways, basically activates something that helps, regenerate nerve cells and neurons, right? And so, I mean, again, I don't know how you could say it. I mean, everyone was always like, oh, I'm going to kill some brain cells, going to kill some brain cells. That was just kind of like a colloquialism around getting high, but you were doing just the opposite, right? Because both THC and now CBN has been proven to basically stimulate new nerve cells being grown. So what's called neurogenesis. And the cells that they tested here against, which was neuroblastoma, is a form of cancerous nerve cells that you definitely don't want to proliferate. So the fact that they're showing activity against neuroblastoma is actually really good. Everyone knows what glioblastoma is. Glioblastoma is a very aggressive form of brain cancer. That's what killed Joe Biden's son. Often when you find out about glioblastoma, it's often too late because you have to have basically just portions of your brain removed, and that's never a good operation to have. So you got to almost wonder if cannabis use in general is prophylactic in the way that it protects from these types of glioblastoma, neuroblastoma, the omas, right, which basically are just cancer-causing cells. So does using cannabis over a lifetime where you're inhaling those cannabinoids and getting those cannabinoids, which are fat-soluble, into the fatty tissues of your body, like your pancreas and like your brain, and maybe at basal level of cannabinoids that exist in your liver, in your pancreas, and in your brain, is basically what's there to fight cancer from causing any damage in the first place. Or in the case of the brain, leading to neurodegenerative disease like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. I mean, what we don't know is, does smoking cannabis basically cure or prevent these diseases from happening? What this study indicates is that the cannabinoids that you're getting from consuming cannabis can certainly fight those diseases. Whether or not smoking over a lifetime or just, using cannabinoids when you come down with those diseases is basically going to result in some kind of cure where you've completely, are disease-free. What I saw at CanMed last week was a really very, very moving presentation from a couple doctors that show that if you're using chemotherapy, we all know that chemotherapy is just terrible for your body, basically just destroys your body. Chemotherapy is a controlled delivery of toxins to your body where you're hoping that the toxins take out the cancer cells and leave the healthy cells behind. Well, what they've shown is that can cannabis help in chemotherapy? And the results were totally amazing, Jason. What they showed is that cannabis by itself didn't completely eliminate cancer, but the combination of cannabis plus chemotherapy showed almost complete remission in the cohort of patients that were given that. And that did better than chemotherapy by itself, and it did better than cannabis by itself. So what it showed is that by using cannabis alongside with chemotherapy, it makes the chemotherapy much more effective. So basically, you could use less of the chemotherapeutic agents and still get the same result in remission and ultimately cancer-free. So the results speak for themselves. Use cannabis along with your anti-cancer treatments, and you're going to have a better chance of survivability.
Anything you want to throw in on this, Jenny?
No, I just love hearing you read big words in the morning.
Well, I got one more big words. One more big words, Jenny Beth. And
all right.
You're gonna love this because you know Jenny, you remember when they came out with the CBD toilet paper, and everybody was cracking jokes about it and saying how pointless that was and whatnot. Well, it turns out they might have actually been onto something, Jenny Beth.
Oh yeah.
They may have been because in another study, CBD oil-infused Biopolymer film packaging Biopolymer film packaging withstands moisture and degrades quickly. And guess what, Jenny Beth? It kills bacteria. That's right. Yep. A new study published in polymer testing explores how hemp-derived cannabidiol (CBD) oil and boronic acid functionalized chitosan can be used to create more durable. What's that?
Chitosan.
Chitosan, okay, chitosan, okay, all right, chitosan can be used to create more durable, sustainable, and antimicrobial biopolymer packaging. Researchers from Kopernik University and Poznań University in Poland developed starch-based films infused with 3% cannabis oil, then enhanced them through a cross-linking technique used tryptophan functionalized with boronic acid, and the resulting material referred to as CS-FPBA-CBD-S showed several key improvements over non-cross-linked versions. The modified films had better water resistance, with the water vapor transmission rate dropping from 5 gm/m2 per day to 3 gm/m2 per day.
You did a good job reading that one.
Thank you. It should have been squared. I should have said squared instead of the 2, so I apologize. But nonetheless, mechanical strength under moist conditions was also preserved more effectively, with tensile strength decreasing less dramatically than in unmodified films. After 10 days of dry storage, the cross-linked material retained elasticity and structure despite some loss in stress tolerance. And researchers also found improvements in antioxidant activity. Scavenging capacity rose from 65% to 74%, as well as increased thermal stability. Additionally, the cross-linked films degraded more quickly, reaching 80% biodegradation after 30 days, and displayed some significant antibacterial activity against Alivibrio flescheri, a gram-negative bacterium. These findings highlight the potential of hemp oil-enhanced cross-linked starch films as an environmentally friendly alternative for food packaging and related applications, you guys. Well, look at that. Dr. Mark, how'd I do right there?
Hey, you did really good.
Okay.
Really good.
All right.
Really good. Yeah, where they were talking about the vapor transmission rate, that's in grams per meter squared.
Grams per meter squared. Okay. All right.
Yeah, so you're dropping the transmission rate of water vapor. You know, it's important for films to be able to breathe, right? So, yeah, this is super exciting.
Oh, yeah, because sandwich bags have pores. Turkey bags have pores.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So it's important to show that, you know, so what they're doing is you're using chitosan. Chitosan is actually derived from lobster shells or crab shells. So crab shells are derived from something called chitin. When you modify that in a hydrolysis experiment, you turn chitin into chitosan. So chitosan is used quite regularly in packaging applications. So what they've done here is they've basically cross-linked chitosan films with, looks like CBD. And lo and behold, it imparts some antimicrobial behavior into those films. So, yeah, really, really cool stuff. Like it. Lots of chemistry here.
Lots of chemistry today, bro. There's a lot of good studies that came out that were very recent.
Yeah, so basically what you just told us, Jason, is that CBD toilet paper means your finger has a better chance of not going through it even when you have the watery shits or the booze poos.
So you're saying it's more durable.
That's what you said, yeah.
Just want to make sure that we're you know what I'm saying, stating the facts over here at High at 9 News, Jenny Beth.
This is what we're ending on today. We're ending on a
kind of a shitty note.
No. It would be the shit
note, bro. An anti-shitty note.
Or I think you can say it would be the shit. Yeah, I think you should say it would be the shit.
It's shit blocking.
It's the shit.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes. I think this is great news. I enjoyed this story, and hopefully we can incorporate as our industry grows, we can develop more infrastructure to produce these products and switch a lot of our packaging needs to these types of uses for greater sustainability overall. Dr. Mark.
Yeah, it's a good thing.
Yeah,
a good thing. Antimicrobials are things that are used all the time in, not so much like the things that we touch, like toilet bowl handles and shit like that. But like where antimicrobials are super important are like in biomedical materials, and those films you could think. And again, if you're getting a pacemaker or if you're getting some kind of implant, you're putting something into the body where now you need that antimicrobial behavior. Certainly using something like CBD or cannabinoids to impart that antimicrobial behavior into those materials is probably a safer option than some of the other things that they use, which are harsh chemicals.
Fair enough. Any final thoughts on this, Jenny Beth? Jesse?
I need to go use some CBD toilet paper, so hurry up.
All right.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I think it's funny because I think it's been like 10 years plus that people have been trying to make CBD pillowcases and CBD athletic wear and CBD toilet paper, and everything's infused with CBD, and this kind of thing actually legitimizes the products that they were making.
Can we make a CBD cup so when we get kicked in the nuts as an industry, it doesn't feel so bad? Maybe a little anti-inflammatory effects.
Yeah. Anti-politician.
Well, and on that, thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific and high noon on the East Coast. Big shout out to our audience and supporters for tuning in daily and listening to the insanity that is the developing cannabis industry. Huge thank you to Aim High Hemp Distribution, Tested, and Catalyst for helping us keep the lights on over here. And thank you to our correspondents for being absolutely amazing. Thank you to Cannabis Sativa L for giving us a reason to do this every day. And thank you to Cloud Media partners Elias and Kai out there in the metaverse. And thank you all for tuning in and getting high at 9 with us. We are America's #1 daily cannabis news show.